We're joined by two actors who have been entertaining us for decades.
Yes, one brought us the laughs in Monty Python and has been taking us around the world with him for the past 35 years.
And the other has worked with everyone from Spielberg to Scorsese, and now he's in the brand new Amy Winehouse film, Back to Black.
Please welcome Sir Michael Palin and Eddie Marsan. Welcome.
Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Eddie, you just mentioned there in your intro, Monty Python. Now, you're a big fan of Life of Brian, I hear.
Oh,
Life of Brian's my favourite.
got the right man to sit next to me. You're awful if he hated it.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
So you saw it back in the day?
I did. Well, I actually saw it last year on holiday. I was with another family, and me and the dad just spent an evening watching the Life of Brian. Yeah.
It's still so good. And this is the thing, Michael, that film is still being discovered today, 45 years on. I mean, do people still shout lines from it at you in the street? They must do.
Yeah. Cleese shouted the line at me the other day, you know. I couldn't remember the reply. The thing is, it was a funny film. It was the best film we did. It was a good script. We were all on song. And the great thing about it is that it's a contemporary film.
Yeah.
It's set in biblical times. All the characters are modern characters. You know, you've got the bossy headmaster, who threw that stone, you know, that sort of thing. And the very nice sort of, you know, liberal man saying, yes, crucifixion, is it? And Eric Idle says, no, I'm going on a desert island, spend the rest of my life. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, how nice. No, it's crucifixion, really, which is my favourite line of the film. And Eric, the cheery chappie. So they're all kind of characters you might see and meet nowadays, which I think is what keeps it going.
Any favourite scenes in there, Eddie, for you?
Yeah, my favourite scene is when Brian opens the window. There's a lot of people. There's like 300 people screaming at him. And he says, look, we're all individuals. And 300 people say, we're all individuals. And one bloke goes, I'm not. Yeah. To me, that's the greatest gag.
And they all go, shh.
Now, listen, Michael, we're going to be talking to you about your latest adventure in Nigeria later. But this weekend, there is a new movie out that's already got people talking. It's called Back to Black, and its subject is the iconic Amy Winehouse.
Yes, we've both been to see it, haven't we? We both loved it. But before we chat to Eddie about his role in the film, let's have a look.
I want people to hear my voice and just forget their troubles. You gotta remember, I ain't no Spice Girl.
Amy Winehouse!
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back. I wanna be remembered for just being me.
So, Eddie, I got to interview director Sam Taylor-Johnson about this, and she explained to me that this movie is very much told from Amy's perspective, you know, using her lyrics, her diaries, different source material. This is her point of view on her story, I think.
Yes, the interesting thing is, I've never been involved in a film where the public have as much ownership of the subject as they do of Amy. And I think when someone like Amy dies so young, who affected our lives in such a profound way, there's like a collective trauma. And the way you deal with trauma is you try to create a narrative that you can deal with. You try to make sense of it. And the comfortable narrative for everybody was that there was someone to blame, that it was either Blake or Mitch. And you create a narrative of villains and victims because...
So this is Amy's boyfriend, her husband, her dad.
Yeah. And the reason that's comfortable is you think, well, if my daughter doesn't marry someone like Blake, or if I don't behave like Mitch, then my daughter won't die. But that's not how addiction works. Addiction is arbitrary and it's cruel, and we all know addicts who come from the most loving families, and they're still addicts. Yeah. And what I love about this film, and the reason I'm really proud of it, is because the main villain of the piece is addiction. And also the paparazzi, as you were just saying about being in Camden.
Yeah, because I lived in Camden, and everyone was writing to the paper all the time saying, oh, you've got to get rid of her. All these people following her everywhere. We can't sleep at night and all that.
See, there's a reason why all these recovery programs are called Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, because you need anonymity and privacy to deal with your addiction. And she was never afforded that. They hounded her.
You mentioned boyfriend Blake. You played Mitch, the father, Eddie, in the film. What was it about kind of Mitch's relationship with Amy that really struck a chord with you?
Well, I knew someone who worked with Mitch and Amy in the music industry, and I knew about a year before that they were going to approach me to play Mitch. And I asked a friend of mine, I wasn't interested in the narrative that was out there. I said, I want you to tell me what Mitch was like. And he said, I like the man, Eddie. He said, I thought he was a loving father, but he was in an impossible situation. He had a daughter who was an addict, and she was the most famous woman in the world. She was hounded by the paparazzi. She had unlimited resources of money. Every drug dealer in London wanted to give her drugs. He said, and he was trying to do his best to save her, but he made mistakes. And I know I've got 4 kids, I've got 4 teenagers, and I love my kids, but I make mistakes every day. And so I wanted to play, I wouldn't have played it if it sanitised him or demonised him. I wanted to play a human being.
So you actually met him before filming, and I wonder, you know, generally, what is that like for you? If you're meeting the real person that you've then got to perform and create on screen, what's that experience like?
Well, I asked Mitch for loads of photographs because I'm not an academic person at all. I mean, you know, I left school at 15, but I'm very visceral in the way I take in information. It's like music and sounds and vision and images. I asked him for photographs of his grandparents and where he went to school. I asked him to give me a playlist of his favourite music, what aftershave he wears. I asked him to sing "Fly Me to the Moon" for me because I have to sing it in the film. And the difficulty is you don't want to do an impression. Marisa talks about this. She didn't want to do an impression of Amy. She wanted to bring the emotional and psychological authenticity of it, but she's not. You know, you're not doing a Mike Yarwood. You're trying to create. Honour a story in the emotional context. And that's the most challenging thing,
As you mentioned, you know, you do sing in the film, but I know that you've always loved music, Eddie, because I think you were discovered in a nightclub dancing.
Yes, I was.
How did that happen?
Well, me and my friend Emmanuel, I was good. Trevor Nelson used to have a sound before he worked for the BBC. He used to have a sound called Mad Hatters. We used to call Rare Groove. I don't know what you call it up north, Northern Soul, I suppose. But in London, it was Rare Groove. I guess, yeah. And me and Emmanuel were dancing, and Emmanuel was like 6 foot tall. He went on to be a model. He's literally a mixture between Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier. Wow. And I was about 5'6", little white bloke, but I could boogie. And they came up to us both and they said, "Do you want to be extras in a film?" And I said, "I want to extra." And then I saw Jamie Foreman do a scene in this film. And he was brilliant, and something clicked, and I just went, I want to be an actor. And that was it. I saw him, and he was so brilliant in what he did. It inspired me,
Well, I think the film was Empire State, and we've actually got a clip of it.
Have you? I've never seen it.
There you are.
Is that me?
That's you there.
Hey! I've never seen this.
Oh, God.
You were right. Enough. More.
No, I tell you what, we went to see it, and on the way, we went to see it at the Mile End ABC, and they burnt it down. But it must have been a terrible film, I thought, because they burnt it down.
Reflection on your performance.
Like you say, you know, that was your first insight into what goes into making a movie.
Yes.
How did it feel shooting that scene?
You know what I fell in love with was the collaborative nature of it. Film sets are so collaborative, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's lovely about them. And they're the most socially diverse. You know, you get a bloke who drives you in the morning. He's probably just come out of Wormwood Scrubs the week before, and you've got some bloke from Oxford who's directed. You know, and it's lovely. It's a great mix of society, and it's really collaborative art form.
And of course, you've played so many different roles in your career, and that continues. We know that when you take on a role, you choose a word as a reference point for that character.
I do, yes.
You're about to play John Adams. We're about to see you as former president of the United States. That's in Franklin. What word did you use for him?
I used the word Puritan. Because Benjamin Franklin, who Michael Douglas plays, and John Adams, they lived together in Paris, and they were raising money for the American War of Independence. It's very similar to raising money for Ukraine in the fight against Russia. There's a big similarity in this story. But they represent both sides of the American psyche, that Benjamin Franklin was a libertarian and Adams was a Puritan. And yet, in combination, they both get the job done and raise the money and get independence.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Eddie. Nice, fascinating. Well, Back to Black is in cinemas from this Friday. So, Michael, that wildlife part is actually, well, where you're from, Sheffield, essentially.
That's right, yeah.
Is that where you kind of got your, I don't know, your ideas to go and explore?
Well, I got the ideas
Well, yeah, like the feeling
wanting to
around
explore,
Yorkshire.
But there was no, you know, you lived in Sheffield, you were brought up in Sheffield
Yeah.
in the 50s and 60s. The place was half derelict, you know, there was just
Yeah.
the steel industry staggering on. It wasn't a place, if you wanted to write comedy or even become an actor, it wasn't the place to be. Manchester was the place to be, Leeds was where the trains went to and all that. In Sheffield, you got rather stuck in the middle. But it made for a very strong character. I like Sheffield people, they're quite stroppy. In a nice way. They're lovely, they're very friendly, but no mucking about, eh? Don't try and pretend you're better than us. I mean, look at
Well, that
Sheffield
tenacity,
United's current performance.
the tenacity, very, very important, and serves you well on your travels,
Tenacity.
including this new series, which
Yep.
takes you on a new adventure, 3,000 miles from home, in a place that, amazingly, despite your many decades as a traveller, you've never visited. So let's take a look.
Nigeria, an extraordinary country and a complex puzzle. I'm embarking on a 1,300-mile journey. From the people in vibrant, hectic Lagos
This is the hot spot.
to the heat and rituals of the Islamic North.
In this chaos, there's also harmony.
I'll discover the astonishing natural wonders.
I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't quite expect this. This is the kind of moment when you forget which country you're in.
Now, Michael, you've taken your viewers to so many places around the world. I mean, so why Nigeria on this occasion? Was it because you hadn't been there, or was there something specific about it?
It was I hadn't been there, which does help. So it means your reactions are spontaneous and fresh when you get there. But Nigeria is ignored, and yet it's the biggest country in Africa in terms of population. 220 million people live there, which is 100 million more than people live in the whole of Russia, for instance. The average age of the people there is 18 years old. I mean, it's a real potential powerhouse, and it's going to be, I mean, it's important now, but it's going to be much, much more important in the future because the population is just growing and growing. So I wanted to see why it wasn't achieving its potential, which sounds rather pompous, who am I to say that? But, you know, it isn't working, the government isn't working there, the Nigerians are the first people to say, well, you know, the country just doesn't work. But they've got this tremendous energy. Yeah.
And you mentioned the scale of the place there, which is quite hard to imagine. I think there's a statistic that Lagos is like 400 miles across or something in the first episode. It's extraordinary.
That's quite a lot, but it is huge. I mean, it's growing all the time, that's it. You know, one statistic will tell you Lagos has got 18 million people. You look at Wikipedia the next day, it'll be 20 million. I mean, it's moving so quickly.
But such a mix of cultures as well, and, you know, one place very different from the next.
Yeah.
What surprised you the most?
I suppose it was the difference between the two halves of the country, if you can say it like that. The south, which is predominantly Christian, the north is Muslim. Lagos is incredibly busy all the time, you know, and it's a very Western city, tall buildings and all that. It's a real hustling city. You go to Kano in the north, which has still got 4 million people, and it's quieter, low rise, and it's on the edge of the Sahara, so everything's dry and hot and all that. And you can't really see why there isn't much interchange between the two of them. And they are both Nigeria, but people in the south have not been north, and people in the north don't go south that often. So it's that division.
You had a very interesting encounter with an alligator, Michael. I saw this clip. I couldn't really believe what was going on.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
He's holding the alligator like a little puppy.
Yeah, well, we were at this sort of, the emir of Kano asked me to party, Durbar, and he had all these people here, sort of, it's very feudal society, so lots of people in wonderful coats and archers and hunters and all that, and suddenly I saw this girl with an alligator, a fully grown alligator, with its little nose taped up. I mean, talk about double take. Yeah. And apparently later on, in our second camera, fortunately was there, caught the alligator escaping. Whipped off the string round its beak, and it went on the floor, and it was an alligator that had great comic timing, because all these people went, whoa, like that. And the alligator waits a bit, and he looks at people over there, and he goes there. Really, that's a star alligator. He can have his own show, really.
Stealing the show.
And
I mean, as well as all of that kind of fun and enjoying yourself, there's a very serious side to the documentary as well. You know, Nigeria has issues with the militant group Boko Haram. You meet a young girl who was kidnapped by them. You find out more about the history of the slave trade and, you know, the complexities there. How important is it to you in the programmes that you make to show that side, to show those complexities and contradictions?
It's it really is important. I mean, we're only there for a short time, and you try to see as many of the different parts of the country's psyche, if you like, as you can. So you see them celebrating, and they love a party, and the Nigerians love music and all that, but also there are these, you know, Boko Haram abducting schoolgirls in the north was you know, tremendous psychological damage to the country. We talked to one of the girls there, actually came along, agreed to be interviewed. The slave trade, you know, huge slave trade in Nigeria, sort of 3 million slaves left from what is now Nigeria. So you've got to confront that. And you know, that's really part of it. I like to think that the programmes that I do have many different layers in them, which is, you know, you can't give answers. You can't say this is what the country should be, but you can show how complex it is and all the various different things that you know, make a country exciting, really.
Yeah.
We've got so many comments and questions coming in from viewers. Sarah says, I would just like to thank Michael for his wonderful travel programmes. They've been a great source of happiness to me over the years.
Richard asks, where haven't you been that is top of your bucket list right now?
Oh, well, that's very good. I would say Mongolia, probably.
Mongolia?
Yeah.
Oh, inner or outer?
Oh, I'll try the outer first.
See how you get on.
Michael Palin in Nigeria starts next Tuesday, 9 p.m. on Channel 5 and My 5. That's all I've got time for tonight. Big thank you to Eddie and Michael for joining us. It's been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Tomorrow, stars of the new drama Tattooist of Auschwitz, Jonah Hauer-King and Anna Proshniak join Marion Keyes and EastEnders Kelly Bright.
Yes, plus Matt Allwright puts Royal Mail on the spot with an exclusive interview in this week's Watchdog. Have a lovely evening. Thank you and good night.
Bye.